T-Bird fans, we welcome you to a brand new edition of T-Bird Talk. I'm Cloud County Community College Sports Information Director, Toby Nosker. The winter sports programs at Cloud County Community College are now underway. The Cloud County Community College men's and women's basketball teams officially tipped off their 2024-2025 seasons last weekend. The Cloud County Community College wrestling team also began its 2024-2025 campaign as they made a trip to Rochester, Minnesota to wrestle in the RCTC Yellow Jacket Open. On today's edition of T-Bird Talk, we'll have an opportunity to visit with the head wrestling coach at Cloud County Community College, Julian Smith, as we will preview the start to their 2024-2025 season. But as far as fall sports are concerned at Cloud County Community College, the Cloud County Community College women's and men's cross-country teams are heading out to Richmond, Virginia to run in the NJCAA Cross-Country National Championships. 11 T-Bird runners in all will be competing for Cloud County, 6 on the women's side and 5 on the men's side. And joining us is the head men's and women's cross-country coach at Cloud County, Drew Mahin. Coach, postseason time has arrived. You've already had the Kansas Jayhawk Community College Conference Region 6 Championships, where the women's team took a 3rd overall as a squad in Division 1, the men's team with a 5th place finish, and now set to make the trip out to Virginia for the national meet. How do you feel as you get set for nationals?
I think everything's trending in the right direction. Our kids are really they feel good. They're getting healthy. We have had very few injuries the last couple of weeks before regionals. We're just in a really positive place that we can take the best opportunity possible with this next meet. It's not a huge course that's challenging in terms of hills, and it's not a very difficult course. It will be a fast course. We ran there in 2021, but none of these athletes would have known about that meet or remember that meet. So we had a really good, performance for the conditions in 2021 when it was extremely windy and a lot of our kids still PR'd. So contrasting that to some of the courses we've seen this year, it's very comparable to the Cowley course that we ran on twice. And I don't think our kids will be shocked by anything. They just have to control their expectations, their nerves, understanding they don't have to run as superheroes. They can just run as they have been the last few weeks and hopefully have a better performance. With the girls and guys both being in the top half of the region, there's like four girls teams ranked in the top 10 right now at nationals in our division. So that we've already seen some of the best teams in the country. That helps us. The guys seeing 2 teams in the top 5 in the country with Hutch and Butler, that was a good place to put ourselves in and know we're comfortable in those arenas. So they should be really excited. I think everybody is excited to be on the road, on the trip, seeing something new in Richmond, but it's exciting to have one more race left.
Let's talk a little bit more about that region meet. I had a chance to be down there for it in Winfield. Of course, you raced on that course just a couple of weeks prior, kind of a preview meet that Cowley College hosted, and then get an opportunity to compete at the Kansas Jayhawk Community College Conference and NJCAA Region 6 Championships. A 3rd place finish for your women's team, led by NJCAA, who ends up shattering her own school record by 20 seconds competing on that course. You have 3 runners that finish inside of the top 10. You had a 3rd place finish. I think that kind of illustrates just how loaded and how deep and how competitive a lot of the schools in this conference in this region are.
Yeah, with that much competition, one runner does make a huge impact at your number 4 and number 5. And we have 6 girls that have been pretty competitive all year. It's just trying to have one more person have an outstanding day. Those 3 at the top have had exceptional years. They're all 3 going to be in our top 10 all-time performance list with 18-minute runs. A few years ago, our school record was 18:10 or 18:14. And now to have literally 3 girls knocking on that door of a school record is pretty special. 2 of them, Nanto and Mercy, have never ran a cross-country race before this season, and Anthony last year was her first opportunity to run cross-country. So they're really doing well for the limited experience that they have in this sport. Even having Rafiatu, the other 400 girl, she's a runner-up in the 400 at nationals. She decided midway through the season she really wanted to join these other girls and help them out. That just shows the team chemistry that they have. Jalen had struggled with some injuries early in the year and then has her best meet that she's had in probably 5 or 6 races. So she stepped up big time to be our 5th runner. And then Joella, who was our 6th, was narrowly right behind her with another lifetime PR. It was really special to see them kind of grow throughout the year and then be able to have their best meet at the time that it mattered the most. But if we have 1 or 2 different girls in a different year, we could be a second team, we could be first, we could be third, and that's just how competitive it is year in and year out.
Jalen with a season best time for her. Everybody else PR'd on the women's side at the region meet. For the men, pretty similar. A couple that didn't PR, but for a large part, the team as a whole performed pretty well. 2 runners inside of the top 30, Felix Sertan and Ethan Ochana, and Ethan with a strong performance, well above his performance at the region meet a year ago. And so it feels like, in many ways, maybe you are peaking at the right time.
Yeah, and the guys' teams, besides 2019 when we won nationals, since then we've always had a huge spread between the top 2 or 3 front runners and then our 5th, 6th guys. This year we have a much more closed gap. They're all very similar within 30 seconds to a minute of each other for that top 5. So that's why I'm excited to see how they do at nationals when it's been a different person in the second position or a different person leading that race. About every meet we've had a different shakeup of the top 3. So to have one more race to figure things out and try to extend themselves into a new group has been exciting. Ethan's had good leadership and very much consistent. Aziz had one splash of a meet at Neosho and then trying to figure some things out since then. Felix has had one really great meet and then another solid meet at regionals. Baraf is kind of surprising himself every single week and growing as an athlete and mentally more so than physically at this point in the year. You don't want to do anything crazy in workouts. We're trying to be very vanilla the last 4 or 5 days. Get to the meet healthy, get to the meet excited, and I think a lot of things will take care of themselves through that experience.
The national meet itself taking place Saturday, November 9th. It'll be at Pole Green Park in Richmond, Virginia. The Division I women's race will kick off at 2:15 p.m., followed by the Division I men's race at 3:30 p.m. Health-wise, I know you've battled some things throughout the year. Do you feel pretty healthy going in?
Yeah, I think Invany was sick about a month ago, and honestly, she could have broke the school record that far back, but dealing with some health issues at the middle of the season was tough for her to kind of take a break and reset. She's looking really good in practice. All the girls look as good as they've looked ever at Cloud, whether it's cross-country or track season. On the guys' side, we've had Felix with a little bit of an issue on his ankle or his shin area, but other than that, nothing that's holding him out of major workouts or holding him out of training completely. We always have question marks of are they ready? I think now it's more mental than it is physical, but we got to control what we can and give them opportunities to feel comfortable in their expectations. We can't expect somebody to drop a minute and a half at nationals. 20 seconds, 30 seconds is reasonable, but let's put it where it belongs. This is what you've been consistently doing. Let's do it a little bit better here at nationals.
What are your expectations for them at nationals?
The girls, I think, if we have a fantastic race, and really it hinges on our 4th and 5th runner. If they can get into the 20-minute range, 20-30s, 20-40s, I think the girls could sneak into the top 5 and really upset a lot of teams. I think the top 3 will take care of business for sure. It's really down to 4th and 5th. If they finish closer to 70th, 60th, those are huge points that pull your team down to like maybe the top 10. Still, a top 10 finish is fantastic for our ladies, but they have a bigger range of ability to upset some other teams, if that makes more sense. The guys' side, I think we honestly could finish in the top 20. We're just really missing that heavy hitter to run in the top 10 and be an All-American spot. Usually most years on the guys' side, we would have 1 or 2 runners that could contend in the top 15, top 10, finishing in an All-American spot. The girls could have 2, maybe 3 people fighting for that top 15, top 20 type performance. So the guys as a team have lesser margins, but they run as a better pack. So the entire pack has to move and overtake more and more and more runners, unless we have one just drop some crazy PR in the 25-minute range for a 5-mile race. So
we're talking today with Drew Mahin. He's the head men's and women's cross-country coach at Cloud County Community College, ahead of the T-Bird women's and men's cross-country runners heading out to Richmond, Virginia to run in the NJCAA National Championships happening this Saturday, November 9th. And then you were in my office today bringing me information about the first kind of indoor scrimmage. And we talked about this early on in the season about how, you want them to experience success in the cross-country season. But all of these athletes will now transition after this weekend into indoor track, followed by outdoor track. So how do you have more than just a successful cross-country season, but make it a full, well-rounded, successful year for them? And so I know that's what you guys are going to be working on next. And a lot of the other kids already practicing and preparing for the indoor season. These kids get to jump in that right after this weekend.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks away. We'll have an indoor track scrimmage at Kansas State University. They're great about working with our junior college schools in the state of Kansas. Brand new facility there, one of the nicest indoor tracks for training and competition in the country. It's named after Cliff Revelto, who's there for 30-plus years and a Hall of Fame coach, whether it's the state of Kansas or the world-renowned coaches associations. So the new staff there, led by Travis Geffer and a recruiting coordinator, Trey Brokaw, has had some relationships with us in the past in different schools. They've invited us to come over and share a scrimmage, which won't be official results, but it's getting kids on that feel for a 200-meter track, getting them used to the indoor implements, getting them used to the indoor events. We'll have everything from the field events, long jump, triple jump, high jump, pole vault, shot put, weight throw, all the way up to the 600 meters and then a 4x4. So the cross-country kids are not necessarily a prime focus of this indoor competition, but they can come down and do something as far as a 600, an 800, a 4x4. That's only 2 weeks away. So missing class for the first time, some of these track athletes haven't had to miss. That'll be unique on a Wednesday to try and get them over there early in the morning and get done about 3 or 4 in the afternoon and come back. But it is important that we rip the Band-Aid earlier before their first meet. If we wait until January 17th, 18th is our first meet likely, they're going to walk in at Nebraska, and we talked to one of their coaches today, and they said, oh, yeah, Minnesota and Oregon and some of these other big programs are looking at coming. That might be a little bit too much in that moment. We want to be able to introduce them to these events and these facilities and these types of opportunities first, rip the Band-Aid, see what we have, see what mistakes and errors we can correct, and give them an area they can still grow in. I think that's a valuable part of this college experience, realizing you're not a finished product yet. We have a long season ahead, and the outdoor season, of course, is still the prime focus for us as we go through the whole academic year.
We'll be sharing results and information from the NJCAA Cross Country National Championships up at cloudtbirds.com. People can also follow us on our social media channels by following Cloud County Athletics on Facebook and Instagram, or CCCC Sports on X. Coach, I appreciate your time, and I want to wish you and the team the best of luck on your trip to Virginia.
Thanks. We're excited to see what they can do, and hope for some good weather and fast times, so we appreciate it.
Are you a Kansas or Nebraska high school senior who's thinking about your next steps after high school? If so, you qualify for Cloud County Community College's $500 Early Bird Scholarship. All you have to do is visit campus before December 13th and have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, and you get a $500 scholarship guaranteed. So come visit Cloud and see why our students are Cloud proud. On your visit, you'll see our campus, meet with an academic advisor, and get a chance to have all your questions answered. Set up your campus visit today by giving us a call at 800-729-5101 extension 212 or visiting us online at cloud.edu/admissions.
This week on T-Bird Talk, an opportunity to talk about the Cloud County Community College wrestling program. The T-Bird wrestling team officially took to the mat for the first time in the 2024-2025 season when they traveled up to Rochester, Minnesota to compete in the Rochester Community and Technical College Yellow Jacket Open on November 2nd. The T-Birds had 4 placers on the day. Now they are preparing to head to Atchison, Kansas, where they will participate in the second ever Loosebrock Duels, hosted by Benedictine College on Friday, November 8th, and the Benedictine Service Salute on Saturday, November 9th. Joining us, the head wrestling coach at Cloud County Community College, Julian Smith. And one meet in, how did you feel like things went in Rochester?
Yeah, so I thought it went probably how I thought. I knew the tournament was going to be a little bit tough. There was some, St. Cloud is number 1 team in Division II, so we had a couple D3 teams that were there, as well as the main reason why we went up there is to see a couple of the junior college teams that we don't typically ever see until the national tournament, and I don't like that at all. So we're going to travel, we're going to go find these people. So, but overall, tournament I thought went pretty good for it being the first one. This first tournament is always guys trying to figure out their gas tank. What works for them, what doesn't work for them, and they're just kind of getting thrown into the fire, which I think is the best thing for them. So so we can kind of see where we need to work at so we can constantly get better.
I wondered about that approach. I mean, you go up against, again, a lot of NCAA D2, D3s, and then NJCAA schools at this Open. Tell me about throwing them to the fire and why you feel like that is good first meet outs.
Yeah, so things kind of we've been practicing for over a month now, right? So things kind of get stale. I think you have some. You might start figuring out your teammates while we're wrestling. So you think you might be at a higher on a higher pedestal possibly. So and it's getting out there and just scrapping with different people, right? So yes, I do throw my guys to the fire. Just to kind of see where we're at, because we're constantly working to try to get to the national tournament, try to be the best we can, peaking at the right moment. So, and not only that, it is a great recruiting piece too. A lot of our guys beat some of these D3 or Division II guys, and the coaches were watching, the coaches were looking. The coaches are going to contact me and talk to me after some of these tournaments, like, oh man, you beat our kid. Hey, what's this guy got going on? So I think it's great for them, and a lot of my guys that are sophomores that want to move on. They want these looks. They want to, go and scrap with the best teams in the country. So, regardless of the division, so we're going to get that done.
We'll talk more about the results from the Rochester Yellow Jacket Open in just a second. Let's kind of talk a little bit about putting together this year's team. And I guess the starting place, you have a new assistant coach this year, and Braden Clopton, after Blaine Harris decided to move on. Tell me a little bit about being able to bring Braden on board, and what's it been like for you to work with him now in his first season here at Cloud?
Yeah. So he has aspirations to be a head coach. So he is kind of being a sponge. He's soaking everything up that I do for my guys and how we run programs and things like that. I think bringing in Coach C was fantastic because I'm a very neutral wrestler. I don't really do a lot of mat wrestling, a lot of turns and things like that, and looking for pins. I like getting takedowns, but Coach C is totally different. He is a top guy, top wrestler, so he has a lot of different cool moves that he does on top that I feel last year that we lacked in. So bringing him in just kind of helps us, get into that, get into the mode there, kind of shaping us to be better wrestlers.
He was a high-quality wrestler himself in college, wrestled at Briarcliff University in Sioux City, Iowa, three-time starter, three-time placer at the national qualifier tournament. So obviously, he knows wrestling. Later on served as an assistant there at Briarcliff as well. But again, you yourself, your wrestling background come from more of the heavyweights and the bigger, wrestlers, where I know it's nice to be able to bring in a guy like Braden, as you're saying, that, he's able to work with those lighter weight guys.
Yep. Yes, for sure. I know our little guys, they definitely don't want to wrestle me every day, right? So, but I think it's great. Coach C, he'll wrestle with our little guys, our 125, 133. And then he'll even bump up and wrestle our 184-pounder, our 197-pounder. He doesn't care. He just wants to wrestle, and that's great.
Tell me a little bit about putting together this year's team. And I had remarked to folks, being able to see your group practice, see who you have. It feels like you bring back a lot of experience from a year ago, but then you were able to add a lot of depth to the program with the new faces that you have.
Yep. So, being a junior college only 2 years, and sometimes guys, get out in 1 year or whatever, you have to recruit every weight class. So it gets crazy. It's a hectic time, but bringing these guys in, we get them up on visits and just kind of they get a feel for me, I get a feel for them, and all the guys that we had fantastic conversations during the visits and just bouncing ideas off and philosophies and things. So I knew once, these kids decided that they wanted to come and wrestle for me, they signed for me, that, we were going to be something special.
Recruited a lot out of Florida.
Yeah. Yep. I got somehow, some way found a connection down there. And I have a coach or two coaches down there that just kind of gives me a little information on some of their guys on there. And Florida doesn't have any junior colleges or anything like that, or really even Division II. So a lot of the schools are NAIA, and they're very expensive. And, it's just coaches down there reaching out, trying to find a better option, right? Better, wrestling where they could possibly wrestle at and, get scholarships from. So found that connection and ran with it.
You're starting your fourth year as the head wrestling coach here at Cloud. What kind of kids do you look for? What are you seeking when you're out on the recruiting trail? And what do you feel like is the overall culture that you're trying to build here at Cloud? Because I'm assuming you're trying to find kids that can fit into what it is that you desire there.
Yeah, yep. So just kind of looking for the kids that just have character, right? They're, upset that they lost, or they're always asking questions, trying to get better at the sport, or even if they do win, right? But they have sportsmanship. Seen a lot different times where a kid I think is pretty tough, but a tough situation happens and their character it's not where it needs to be at. And I'm kind of zero tolerance on that kind of stuff. So I'm out there, I watch. I don't go up and talk to the kids out the gate while I'm out recruiting or anything like that. I just want to see how they are with their team. We are a big family here. We joke a lot, we laugh a lot, and we have each other's backs. So I am looking, are you with your team? Are you guys talking? Are you guys joking? Are you having a good time? Or are you kind of standoffish? Usually if you are standoffish, you might not be a good spot here for you. So and then the main culture, which I'm sure is like that for a lot of different programs, is just kind of being hard-nosed, right? And mainly being accountable for every action that happens, and kind of controlling what you control, and not really worrying about what's going to happen on the outside, because things happen. We might have a bad weight cut, we might get a bad call, from a referee, things like that. But it's just all about being accountable and being hard-nosed and kind of fighting through, while you're in the fire.
You bring back 4 guys that have experience at the national tournament a year ago, and a pretty strong sophomore class overall. What have you kind of pressed upon them, and what have you asked of them in helping then the freshmen in their transition to college wrestling? Yeah,
it's just being the leader, right? Which is kind of crazy, right? Because they're only sophomores. They're 20s, sometimes 19, getting into the season or whatever. So it's asking a lot of them. But with the sophomores that I have, these guys have been with me for a year. They kind of know how I am. They know how I expect things, and it's just showing the freshmen the way, right? Whether it's with technique or whether it's just about being disciplined with school, with wrestling, with diet, with extra workouts, things like that. Kind of showing, even if you're not vocal, right? But you can show others by example, what we're doing. So I lean on them heavy, and I know they've accepted the challenge. They know. They want to be successful. They want to have a successful team, and it's just getting the freshmen to kind of buy in a little bit more.
And lead by example, I'm assuming. And we saw your sophomores have a pretty strong day overall up in Rochester, Minnesota, which is great to see first meet out.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I was definitely happy with a couple of guys' performance there. Just going out there and Mac, he wants to go and wrestle on somewhere. Daniel Vines wants to go and wrestle on somewhere. So I'm like, hey, it starts now, right? There are a lot of different programs here that you can move on to next, right? But it's right now it starts, and it's beating these kids, showing these coaches that you belong, right? Then you get a good scholarship and be able to get your undergrad. So
Mac Chambers kind of helped lead the way for Cloud County in the RCTC Yellow Jacket Open. Went 4-1, took 3rd overall in the 174-pound weight class. Again, took on some of those D2, D3 type kids, and really got out there and battled well on the mats.
Yeah. Mac is fearless. He's a very fearless guy. Love the kid to death, and he just wants to go out there and scrap. He doesn't care who the guy is, what kind of singlet they have on, whether it's a D1 or down to junior college. He just wants to get better at wrestling. He wants to prove a point, and he wants to take some heads off this year.
It's nice to see a guy that can come back in a third-place match, after losing in the semifinals. That's the only loss for Chambers at the Open. But to be able to turn around then in that third-place match, not hang your head, and take care of business. And he had quite the battle, I know, barely edging out Mason Buss of Southwest State 4-3. This kid, Mason Buss, actually ended up defeating Easton Boone earlier in the tournament, but Mac was able to find a way to hang on and pick up that win.
Yep. Yeah, Mac. Even the match that he lost, I don't think that he wrestled bad. Right. There's a few things that we need to kind of fix, and we have to. We'll do that. Starting today. Usually Mondays we get back to technique, and then his 3rd place match, he just battled. He just stayed in the fight. Wasn't really worried about what's going on. He kept trying to find points and kept trying to score points. So good things happen that way.
Easton Boone also competed in that 174-pound bracket. He ended up in 6th place there overall. How did you feel like Easton competed then?
I think he wrestled pretty good. Like I said, this is everybody's first tournament, right? So it's figuring out your gas tank, how your conditioning is, and just the technique that you've been working on. And it's just mainly the mindset, right? You get a little nervous out there, and it kind of shuts you down. But I thought that Boone wrestled pretty good. Figuring things out on his feet. I think it was gas tank was he was a little bit worried about it, but I think as Boone gets tired, the more tired he gets, the better at wrestling he gets, which is kind of crazy. But I thought he performed pretty good out there.
How much do he and Mac kind of push each other in the wrestling room?
Oh man, they have some battles. They definitely both want to beat each other. So I don't ever have to worry about those two kind of slacking off or anything. So. But it is, an iron sharpens iron kind of thing. We have two, studs there at that weight class, and we'll see how it pans out at the end.
2 other wrestlers for the T-Birds placed at the RCTC Yellow Jacket Open, both of them freshmen, Jacob Vasquez and Micah Cothers. Tell me a little bit about their performance.
Yep. So Jacob getting things figured out. This was his first tournament. I think he was a little nervous, a little not himself his first match, and I totally get it. You're out there. It's these matches count, right? And you're wrestling someone, a different division. It's also pretty dang tough too. So, we dropped the first match, but he just kind of battled back. It's kind of figuring out. I got a little bit of confidence the next match, which usually happens. You have to get those jitters out. Sometimes it takes a match or two, but we figured it out. And Micah, he's probably the strongest kid in wrestling, period. He put off some really crazy feats. Again, just stayed in the fights, was always trying to find points, and picked up some quality wins.
Jacob ended up finishing in 8th place at 165 pounds. Micah in 8th place finish at 184 pounds. You said these matches count. You guys have spent a lot of time in the practice room beating each other up. You finally get an opportunity to get on the mat and compete. Was that welcome for you? And was that welcome for them that, hey, finally we get an opportunity to see some different competition? It's not my own teammates. And maybe for them it illustrates some of the things you and Coach Clopton have been talking about in the practice room, and now they actually see it for the first time in actual competition.
Yep. So a lot of times, I know a lot of people don't know this, but wrestlers are very hard-headed. They get stuck in their way. They think that their way is the best with whatever it might be. So I know as a coach, I'll stay on them. I'll keep trying to tell them, hey, this is better, this is better. But a lot of times it's kind of bumping their heads, right? They get out there and they're like, oh, my God, man, coach was right, I think. Coach is right. So then we kind of go back to those, like those Mondays, technique days. We sit and we have a nice little talk about just were they, being very candid, were they prepared? And I asked them all of that, and they can just be as honest as they want to. And with it being the first tournament, only a month of practice, we have a lot of different stuff to kind of go over. But, overall, I think they have to go out there and kind of get through the fire, kind of bump their heads and just realize where they're at to see what they need to work on to get better. Right. So I'm very excited. A lot of the guys were talking to me after their matches. We talked on the bus, we talked at Culver's. We ate some good food, got some milkshakes for them and things like that. But all the guys came up and talked to me about technique advice and the mindset of wrestling, and I was very happy with that.
Development never stops, right? And I'm assuming a lot of them, they come in thinking, hey, here's what I've been able to do. Here's what I've accomplished in high school. This has gotten me recruited to where college coaches want me. I'm at this level. But everybody else that they're going to take on is at that level too, yes. Right? So like the ability to still develop and get better is so crucial.
Yeah, yep. I always tell them that you're in like in a small pond, right? You wrestle mostly Kansas kids, and there's a lot of guys that only wrestle Kansas kids and never gone to like a national tournament or anything like that. So you're in like this small pond, and now we get to college, and it's like, wow, this guy was tough in his little pond. This guy was tough in a little pond, and now like we're all in the ocean. It's just kind of figuring life out.
Yeah, I remark on this, and I've said this to other coaches too, but it's like, they probably exited their high school wrestling room as the best kid in the room, right? Yep. And now they're surrounded by other kids that were all the best kids in their wrestling room. And so now the atmosphere is totally different maybe than anything they've been used to.
Yeah, even, a few guys that were state champions coming into college and or had successful high school careers and things like that. They get into the practice room where a guy just has a year of college experience, just even 1 year. And it's like, they're kind of getting beat up a little bit, which is great. This is what you need. You need guys that can beat you up, because if you go in and whoop, basically beating everybody up, and you just don't get better at wrestling that way. So,
have you been pretty happy though with the overall mindset and approach that your kids have taken to start the year?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I said, it's that kind of I try to teach that hard nose, just being gritty, and a lot of the guys are kind of picking it up. So.
Few other T-Birds picking up wins on the day at the RCTC Yellow Jacket Open up in Rochester, Minnesota. They included sophomore Daniel Vines, sophomore Nolan Bradley, and freshman Roderick Brown. I know Roderick, unfortunately, unable to finish the day due to an injury. But again, nice to see those guys be able to get their first wins.
Yep, definitely. Thought they all kind of scrapped. Just like I said, a little bit of small different changes that we have to work on. And again, it is our first tournament, so we're just ironing out the kinks right now.
How did they feel walking away from the first tournament?
Definitely devastated. They wanted to place. They wanted to continue on the wrestle on. Sometimes the brackets kind of fall how they fall, and there's something we can't control. But it's all right. We're here to battle. So I kind of tell those guys, like, hey, I know it's rough and it's a very, I don't know, you don't want to take a loss, but taking these losses does not hurt, right? Now we know where we're at. Now we know what we needed to work on, where we need to be better at. So don't take these losses too painful, because it's not March. It's not the national tournament. So we'll just go back to the drawing board and just keep working. So, but yeah, they were definitely kind of hurt, devastated. They wanted to scrap, wanted to keep winning matches and things like that. But wrestling's a different beast.
It's a different beast in a lot of ways. Again, the uniqueness that you, unlike a lot of sports where you go up against NCAA Division II and Division III and NJCAA all at the same time. And then there's the team component, but also the individual components. And throughout the season, you guys will take part in 7 different tournaments or opens, but then you'll also have some duels and tri-duels throughout the course of the season. And so I know you like to emphasize the team and the team aspect of things. But, this initial open, it's kind of them on their own, bracketed out, battling against everybody else.
Yep. It's just kind of being, it sets us up for the duels, right? It's kind of controlling your match. You go out there and you win will help us, right? So it's all about kind of being being accountable for controlling in your match. So, and that will help us win duels. So, and
you front load your schedule with a lot of tournaments and opens. There'll be some dual action or dual tournaments that you'll go to. But then after the first of the year, that's when you come back and get into the conference slate. But I feel like looking at your schedule and the trips that you guys have, and whether it's Des Moines, Iowa, heading back out to Hayes, Kansas, the tournaments that you're going to be competing in, Kearney, Nebraska, they're going to run into some really good competition in the early part of the season.
Yeah, and again, most of the guys want to get recruited, so it's just getting them out there. It's a little different than a coach just watching film on you. But, being actually there and wrestling, their athletes, and then just kind of seeing how you are, it goes back to that kind of character thing. So, we're going to go wrestle the toughest kids possible, just so that we can constantly get better at wrestling. We have to seek out that competition, and that's kind of how I set the schedule up. How
do you balance that as a coach, knowing that kids are looking to their future while this season's just getting underway? And for you, me, other coaches here, we live Cloud County, right? But this is just hopefully for a lot of your guys an initial stopping point, and their journey continues after Cloud County. So tell me a little bit about being able to balance that, knowing again that you're giving kids an opportunity to get seen by schools when they go to these tournaments or opens and have an opportunity to get recruited. And I know you hope they wrestle their best, which reflects well on you in the Cloud County as a whole. But tell me a little bit about, working with those guys that, Cloud County may not be the ultimate destination for here, but how to make the best use of their time while they're here.
Yeah. Yep. So again, kind of the small pond thing here, right? So we have a a bunch of schools in Kansas that have wrestling, things like that. But sometimes, my kids might not have gotten a really good scholarship to a $40,000, $50,000 school, right? So we kind of we have that aspect, and then I also kind of tell them about why we go to these open tournaments and your goals and aspirations of you, one, getting school paid for yourself, and just kind of putting the work in. So it just keeps them honest. They want to get recruited. They know that this isn't just a stopping point for them, a real quick stop, but keeping them honest in their diet, their workouts, their wrestling, their habits outside the practice room, their school. You want to get recruited, you have to put the work in. So I don't necessarily, all of my guys now don't have to, that want to move on, I don't have to say too much of anything, but like, hey, you want to get recruited, it starts now, right? You got to go to school, got to come to practice, got to give it your all, got to lift hard, things like that. So I enjoy the fact that they want to go off and wrestle because it gives them a chip on their shoulder, and just kind of going out there and possibly taking a kid's scholarship at the next level.
Up next for the Cloud County wrestling team, a trip out to Atchison, Kansas. You'll be there for 2 days with 2 different tournaments, starting first with the Loose Brock Duels, hosted by Benedictine College there in Atchison. That's on Friday, November 8th. And then you'll follow it up with the Benedictine Service Salute that'll take place on Saturday, November 9th. New for you, heading out to Atchison, just the second year that they've hosted the Loose Brock Duels. Tell me a little bit about the trip out there.
Yeah. So this year kind of felt a little weird with November having 5 weekends there. So I knew we had something figured out for the first week, which was going to Rochester. But this week there was nothing on the schedule. Most people weren't running tournaments, and this tournament kind of popped up for us. And it's like, well, I don't want them to not make weight. So and I do want them to scrap and compete, and compete against kids, different schools that might not just be junior college, just to possibly get that scholarship. So I'm excited about the duels. I believe there's 8 of us there. So in the open tournament, kind of getting back in it, free for all, and see who wins.
Talking with Coach Julian Smith, head wrestling coach at Cloud County Community College. I close out our interviews each week with what I call our Final Four. So 4 questions for you. Question number 1, just as you look at this year's team as a whole collectively, what do you like the most about them?
The bond that they have, just watching them at this tournament last weekend, just how everybody was on the side of the mat, watching their teammate, cheering them on, just being in each other's corner. So I love the camaraderie that they have, and it's going to be a beautiful thing.
That kind of leads me into question number 2. And as I'm around you or I'm around your guys, it seems like they have a lot of fun, but I know they can get serious when it's time to get serious, right?
Yes.
And I know that's probably a fine line you like to walk with them sometimes. How do you as a coach, when it comes to working with your guys, kind of foster that positive team dynamic and that camaraderie in the wrestling room with your team?
Yeah. So we joke a lot. I talk a lot of trash. So and then that makes the guys, talk a little trash to me. And I literally think that is how our bond starts. Just joking and having a good time, because the sport is tough. You're going to go through a lot of different hard times, and it gets brutal. But being able to smile and being able to laugh when you get to practice, knowing that you have to lose 5 pounds or something like that, or practice is going to be a little bit tough. But being able to laugh will give you that little bitty glimmer of sunshine, before the rain hits. So.
And of course, you want them to take, as I said, be serious, take a serious approach. But they're only here for 2 years, and you hope they make the most of that time. But the relationships, I know you hope, extend well beyond those 2 years.
Yeah. We just had 2 of our guys wrestling at a tournament out in North Dakota this last weekend. 2 teammates, Bray Skinner and Wyatt Powell, and they saw each other, and it was just like having a good reunion. So, as well as even my Drexel kid, Ibrahim, he still keeps up with those guys. So it's great to see the small amount of time that they were here, that they have these everlasting friendships. So,
all right, I got off track there. Question number 3. I want to know for you, and I've asked this of a few coaches that I've interviewed here on the show, but what's the best piece of coaching advice that you've ever received? Again, you're in your 4th year now at Cloud. As you kind of continue to build the program here, what's the best piece of advice that you feel you've received as a coach that you yourself kind of implement?
Yeah. It would probably be, very cliche, very basic, but control what you can control. Just and be accountable for what's going on or how things are going, right? So if my guys are possibly lacking in one aspect of wrestling, or we're not doing things right, well, that's on me. That falls back on me. Even recruiting. Well, hey, I'm not getting. I didn't get these kids or this kid or that kid. So okay, I sit back and what am I doing? What do I need to do to better myself, better what I have, to try to get those kids for the future. So it's probably just kind of controlling what you control and not really waver in the negative. Just do what you got to do.
Last question: what are the goals for Cloud County Wrestling this season?
The goals, for sure, 10 national qualifiers. I think we've had 9 last year or maybe 8 last year. So I want to get up to the 10. I do think we do have the athletes to do it, even off this, the early look that we just got, based on their, how they were after the matches, whether they won or they lost. So if they want to eat. So 10 qualifiers, and I would like to get maybe 2 or 3 guys on the podium for sure, and we'll just kind of see how things fall out.
Coach, I appreciate you taking time to sit down with us this week. Best of luck to you and the team on the season. We appreciate it.
Definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
Are you a Kansas or Nebraska high school senior who's thinking about your next steps after high school? If so, you qualify for Cloud County Community College's $500 early bird scholarship. All you have to do is visit campus before December 13th and have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, and you get a $500 scholarship guaranteed. So come visit Cloud and see why our students are Cloud proud. On your visit, you'll see our campus, meet with an academic advisor, and get a chance to have all your questions answered. Set up your campus visit today by giving us a call at 800-729-5101 extension 212 or visiting us online at cloud.edu/admissions.
My thanks to Cloud County Community College head wrestling coach Julian Smith for being our guest this week on T-Bird Talk. The Cloud County Community College wrestling team ranked number 11 in the country in the NJCAA preseason poll. The T-Bird wrestlers are heading out to Atchison, Kansas this weekend. On Friday, Cloud County will compete in the second ever Loose Brock Duels hosted by Benedictine College. Matches begin at 9 a.m. And then the following day, the T-Birds will also take part in the Benedictine Service Salute in Atchison beginning at 9 a.m. We also want to say thank you to Cloud County Community College head men's and women's cross-country coach Drew Mahin for talking to us about his men's and women's cross-country runners as they head to Richmond, Virginia for the NJCAA National Cross Country Championships. You'll be able to find results this weekend up at our website, cloudtbirds.com. We'll also be sharing results up on our social media channels. So make sure to follow Cloud County Athletics on Facebook and Instagram and CCCC Sports on X. Tonight, the Cloud County Community College women's and men's basketball teams are in action at home. The T-Bird women 1-0 on the season following a victory over Northern Oklahoma College Tonkawa last Sunday. Tonight, Cloud County matches up with Concordia University JV. And then after that, the Cloud County Community College men's basketball team at 1-1 on the season takes on Kansas Wesleyan University JV. The women's game tips at 6 with the men's game to follow at 8 p.m. Both games will take place inside Arley Bryant Gymnasium on the college's Concordia campus. We'll be talking more T-Bird athletics next week on a brand new edition of T-Bird Talk. New episodes of T-Bird Talk drop every Thursday, so make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. T-Bird Talk is a production of the Cloud County Community College Athletic Department.